It leads me to my next question. How amazing is it that we have two wonderful Republican women governors sitting on this stage right now? Governor Sanders and Governor Noem. And Governor Noem, you mentioned you have served in South Dakota under the Harris-Biden regime and the very successful Trump administration. I think it'd be interesting if both of you could point out how you have seen the policies of this administration in Washington, D.C. impact your constituents at the state level, how the heavy hand of the federal government has hurt your state. Governor Noem.
You know, when President Trump was in the White House, I was so thrilled because I was passionate about tax reform. And when he got sworn in as President of the United States, we had the chance for 2 years to work on a bill that he came in and finalized and helped us negotiate and get it through the Senate and got it signed into law that put thousands of dollars back into the American people's pockets, that they could make the best decisions on how to spend those money and dollars for their kids and for their grandkids. So that was fantastic for me to be a part of that. And when I first had a meeting with President Trump, I remember I was a brand new governor, and we came in and some of the new senators and new governors were having a meeting with him, and he was going around the table. I was sitting next to him, and so I knew I was going to be last. And people were asking him what they needed help with. What were some problems that he could help us solve? And I remember watching as we went around the table, some people were talking kind of long, and that kind of irritated him. You could see he was kind of squirming a little bit. And then some people were asking for 10 things. You know, well, I need you to fix this, this, and this, and then can you do that? So I thought, okay, by the time he gets to me, I'm going to have 3 things, but one I'm going to hit really hard because I just know, and I'm going to be succinct. And when he got to me, he said, Christy, what do you need help with? And I said, well, sir, I really need help with some trade agreements. And then we negotiated a few that really penalize our producers and our commodity owners, our farmers, but also our manufacturers. So if you would help me get free trade, not free trade, but fair trade deals with our companies in other countries so that we can engage with them and not get penalized, he said that would be fantastic. I'm on it. Absolutely. We need to get our products made here in the United States. We need to protect our food supply and grow it here and make sure they can be utilized by our people here. He said, what else did you need? I asked him for another policy in our Black Hills. I needed better lumber policy so we could actually maintain our forests and not deal with wildfires like California is when our forests aren't maintained. And he said, I'll get that done for you. And what's the third thing? I said, sir, I need fireworks back at Mount Rushmore.
And I bet he loved that.
Yeah, he goes, what? I said, well, we've always, every year, been able on the 4th of July to have fireworks at Mount Rushmore. And those TV shots of Mount Rushmore, a monument to great leaders, celebrating the freedom and independence that we have here as Americans, I said, but as soon as President Obama came into office, he took it away from us. And I'd like to have it back because I think it's a reminder not just to the people in this country, but to the whole world what America stands for. And he said, I'm going to help you get that done. That's fantastic. She wants fireworks. We're going to get fireworks. I got a little worried because every time I saw him for a year after that, every time he looked at my face, he'd say, how's our fireworks going? Are we getting our fireworks? And I was like, oh my goodness, he thinks all I want is fireworks. I actually wanted some other things, but he got it done. Did you guys see the wonderful celebration we had July 3rd? And so it was great to have a president that really wanted to help other leaders solve their problems for their people. And when Joe Biden came in, it was like a 180-degree change. It was unbelievable. On day one, he canceled the Keystone XL pipeline, which was 11,000 jobs for us. The equipment was already set up in South Dakota. We had the pipe all laid out. All it had to be done was put in the ground and used so that we could move our oil in a safer, more responsible way for our environment and for our people, and he canceled that immediately. And from then on, I've been involved in federal lawsuits on, can I still put male and female on our birth certificates in South Dakota? Do I have to do transgender surgeries on my inmates that are in my prisons? These are the things the federal government sues me over because I want to keep saying male and female. I don't believe that taxpayers should have to pay for optional transgender surgeries when someone's incarcerated. And so it's dozens of those types of situations Instead of being on offense solving problems, now I'm on defense just trying to protect my people.
Well, we're going to go on offense again in January 2025.
Never forget the first time he met my mom. And it was after we had gone through 2020. And if you remember during 2020 and COVID, when I was making the decisions in South Dakota that I was making to keep our state open and things, I was getting attacked every night on the national news and by everybody.
Kudos to you for doing that. Incredible.
And he called me often to tell me, you're making the best decisions for your people. But I remember he met my mom after that, and I said, Mr. President, this is my mom. Her name's Corinne, and she just loves you dearly. And of course, my mom was crying. And he hugged her, and then he said to her, it must be so hard being her mom. And my mom goes, yes, it is. And so then they kept talking about, and she goes, she's not mouthy or anything, but they make her look like she's mouthy on TV. And he goes, no, she's a nice girl, but I know it's hard on moms. And like he recognized that sometimes for us as candidates or as leaders, or as people who are sitting up and speaking all the time, it's hard on us, but it's harder on our families a lot of times, because they're at home and they're hearing people say things about you that just aren't true and that they know aren't true, and they can't do anything about it. So those are the moments where you get to see his heart, and that he's always thinking about someone else in those situations and checking in with them to make sure they're okay. Listen, when I married into my husband's family, about 80% of them were Democrats. And then I take their name and I run for Congress as a Republican. So if you can imagine, and that year it happened to be one of the top 5 races in the nation. It was extremely contentious and ugly. And here this woman in their family that took their name is running as a Republican. And I will tell you that today, almost all of them are Republicans. But they're not Republicans because we blew each other up and screamed at each other. They're Republicans because we all sat down and we talked across the dinner table at Thanksgiving or Christmas and talked about things, and we loved each other. So all of you sitting here today, what I'm going to remind you is to be talking to people. You all have people in your lives that you don't talk to anymore because of politics, right? You've got people that you work with, maybe even people that you go to church with, people in your family, and you are all thinking, how many of you can think of somebody right now in your life that you don't talk to about politics because it just gets too ugly, right? I just need you to get over it. I would have never dreamed I would see a country change like ours has changed in the last 4 years. I would have never dreamed that we would see our constitutional freedoms threatened like they have been under the Harris and Biden administration. We are watching people use fear to control people. We're watching the government use fear to promote an agenda. And it's an agenda of socialism and Marxism that is designed to remake America. Listen, let's not lose this country on our watch. When our founders gave us this country, they took on a fight with the meanest, most well-equipped, well-armed military in the entire world. And they did it with their personal rifles and their muskets. And they went just because they wanted to be free. We have no idea what kind of sacrifices they made for us. So let's decide today that we're not going to lose it on our watch. Go out and start talking to people again, asking them who they're going to vote for and why. When you go to the gas station tonight to fill your car with gas, talk to the person at the pump next to you. Say, who are you voting for and why? If you go get groceries the next few days, in the checkout line, ask the checkout person who they're voting. They can't go anywhere, right? It's not like they could storm away. Ask them who they're voting for and why. You might say one thing that makes them think about this election differently and makes them think about something when they go home and start talking to their family members that might make all the difference in the world. And the last thing I'll ask you is to be happy. If you're happy, people will be drawn to you. They'll want to be around you. Nobody wants to be around a crabby, scowling, screaming person and say, well, I want to be more like them. No, they want to be around cheerful people who are filled with a hope. And we have a hope because President Donald J. Trump is in this race and he's going to win. So leave here tonight and go talk to those folks.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.